Alright, hello everybody. This video is going to be a little late, having some OBS issues, but this should be up very soon. Very soon. Okay, so, first things first, the New York City Comic-Con, the video for that actually came out, so I have some small additions to the stuff that I talked about. First is the Rhino Skin. We now have confirmed that that is coming out the last week of November, so be excited for that when that comes out. These notes are from whenever I watched the New York Comic-Con panel. He is receiving touch-ups like Valkyr to bring him into more of an endgame status as a Warframe, which we will talk about at the end here. And then we will discuss what this means for meta stuff. And then also, for the Archer frame, we now know, I now know that the thing on her arm is a toxin generator. That is going to affect her power somehow, and she's going to have Aftertouch, which is an ability that basically, if you were to fire, like, say, a bow, you'd be able to fire it and then control and, like, change the path of the arrow. So you'd be able to, like, change it to go through these enemies and do some, like, cool stuff like that. So we know those two things about the new Warframe now, that is going to be incorporated into their design. So that sounds really cool. I'm not sure how I feel about the toxin generator bit. It could go very far one way, very far the other way. It's very much up in the air. But that's all stuff from the New York City Comic-Con stuff, which they decided not to talk about, so I'm glad that I went back and watched that stuff. So, as for Devstream 61 proper, we have some stuff on the release schedule. Those of you that were excited for the Mios that is coming out in November, probably, I would guess, alongside the new Rhino Skin, if I had to take a guess. This month, though, we are getting the J3 trial, which I'm actually very excited for because I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm going to try and do that significantly faster than before. And then we have the Nexus App, which is very much, they want it to come out in October, but due to, what's the word I'm looking for? Getting it through the process to put it onto the App Store might take longer and push it into November, so a lot of that isn't on how fast they want to get it done, it's on Apple's process for doing the thing. So that may get pushed into November, but if it's going to be November, I suspect it will be the very beginning of November, so be excited for the Nexus App for those of you that don't want to log on to get your extractors and do all that stuff all the time. So now we're going to get into the very interesting stuff, because new trial is cool, new weapon is cool that we've been hearing about a lot, and the app is cool, but a lot of this other stuff is way more important. First is the revive system. So the way the current revive system works is that per Warframe you get 4 revives, and you get 5 if you have a maxed out arcane, and that is across an entire day. So basically, and this is really strange because you would like most companies wouldn't say something like this, or change something like this if it was that way. They decided that the revive system was only really being, like, based on their stats that they have. The revive system was only being used by, like, beginning players that were getting thrashed all to fuck, and then they were only being bought by those, like, early players, and they decided that that was, like, damaging, like, the fun at the beginning of the game. It was, like, preying on people wanting to, like, have more revives to keep playing, and it was preying on, like, the early players that will die a lot because you have no mods and stuff like that. So they're completely removing that in Update 18, and every mission you will have the 4 or 5 revives if you have an arcane, which is really cool, and it makes it a lot easier to get someone into the game that maybe isn't fantastic at the game, because you will have more revives available to you to actually complete a mission. And as for someone who is testing very questionable builds like myself, being able to go into a mission and be like, I have 4 revives this mission, I can just test this shit out and see what happens. That's very nice. I like being able to do that, and not really just throwing a build out because I don't want to waste my revives. That's just a great decision that I don't think most companies would take out a system that preys on people to spend platinum on things that they shouldn't, like their first 50 plat, like, just goes directly into the revive system. Like, that, taking that stuff out is just good for the game and just at large, and respect the change greatly. Let's move on from that, though. Login rewards. Okay, so the way login rewards right now, there's a lot of useless garbage in them, which is obviously no good. And then we have like our discounts and stuff like that that is in there for buying platinum. The stuff for discounts and buying platinum, that stuff is all going to stay the same for those of you that are worried about your discounts going away. And then we're also having a daily tribute system. So basically the way that this works, or that this will work, is that you get more. There are landmarks, and this will never reset. So you like play for 100 days, and you would get like some unique item or something like that. And there will be unique skins and sigils. Okay, back. Sorry about that. Coughs. Not feeling super great today. So for the daily tribute system, there will be possibly a catch-up system for those of us that have played 1,000 hours or are like very high mastery rank and have clearly been here a while. They're considering a catch-up system. One way or another, I think that this will turn out to be much better. Having more rewards the more you log in is great. I wish they had been counting reward or logins like all along and just could give it to you all at once, because that'd probably be crazy and super cool. But there's not much you can do about that. A catch-up system would be very nice. And having a login system that you want to log in to get like to specific things, like say at 100 days, they have like a Sindana that only comes from that. That's a really good incentive to like keep logging in and like keep coming back to the game. So I think that will do a much better job of getting people on every day, rather than the login reward being something where you log in and you're immediately disappointed. Like you log in and it's like 2,000 Sentinel experience, huh? Damn, son. That's just what I needed. That shouldn't happen anymore, and that will be nice. You'll always get something relevant. That is how it was explained, and that's how I hope it is. So, more things. Chat is being reworked in the way that it works, in that you will have more functionality, more ability to customize it, and you can create specific groups. So this is a mock-up of it. You can create or join channels. You can have 3 custom channels, I believe it was, and you can always have like a certain group of people in those channels. I think this is really good for people that have like, say, like a raid group that they get together all the time. I would absolutely like having a channel that just says raid, which is people you've raided with and you know are reliable and like doing that kind of stuff. That seems like the best possible use for this in my case. Absolutely, for sure. And it just seems like a good choice. That's what I will probably do with this system whenever it comes in. And this should be fairly soon. I think they said this is coming in 18. So that is not around the bend. It is on the horizon. So let's see here. Anything else that I'm forgetting with the chats? I don't think so. So chat stuff, that's done. That's the only image that I pulled, because it's the only like new thing that we're seeing, and the notes I feel are more important. Okay, so charge attacks. The way charge attacks are going to work is that you will have a normal swipe and then keep holding, and then it will chain into a charge attack, and then you can hold again, go into another second like charge attack. So you will have 2 charge attacks per weapon that chain into one another, and it looks like it'll be really good. They tested it, Rebecca tested it with not official like damage numbers on some like 95 ancients. It seemed like it was doing a good amount of damage that you would want, and I'm excited just to have more options in melee to make melee better. Lots of stuff has not been decided yet, so we will find out more about that at a later date. And then that's pretty much all there is with charge attacks. Okay, so here is a larger thing that will be interesting to only for those of you on PC will this be interesting to. The Steam Workshop. So, next week is the aimed launch for this, which is really exciting. And basically, we've had like the 10th-gen skins and stuff, which are community-created content, that have been really high quality, like very much so. This is basically going to be an easier way to get people into creating content for Warframe. And then everything will be vetted by DE to be put into the game. This, for people who like cosmetics, this is a huge influx of stuff potentially, depending on how many like actual creators we have like that want to work on stuff, which seems like a fairly large amount because Warframe's a pretty good community on PC. I think it's like something over 10 million. It's a large group. And I think that this will be a good way to get more consistent content, maybe more stuff in weekly updates, depending on how active the community is, with putting that stuff in. And I think that is just going to be a pure benefit. And those of you on console may also see some of these skins come across, and that would be also fantastic. More content for everybody is good content for everybody. And the profits, for those of you interested in doing this stuff, the profits will be shared between you and DE for selling stuff on the market. So you can also make some money off of this if you're doing the good stuff. I'm just saying, you could make some dollar. Okay. So, they also confirmed that Stalker is being reworked. So, I haven't really talked about this. Stalker is an enemy that I absolutely fucking goddamn hate, and it's not because I have trouble fighting the Stalker, it's because the Stalker is like the antithesis of like anti-player design. So the Stalker, and this might have lore reasons and whatever. Basically, the Stalker is immune to all Warframe powers, and you can only fight him with guns. He's immune to all Warframe powers because he, like, has no chance to kill you otherwise, which is a problem. And, like, this is, like, the reason that we have nullifiers and stuff like that. Because our powers are too, like, uncontrollable. Like, even mitigating it against him, we just instantly murder him super hard. So I hope that they don't go the route of just making him even more fucking immune to just whatever we throw at him. Like, giving him, like, 95% damage reduction and powers don't work and, like, all that shit just makes it so that he's a guy that shows up that makes the game less fun, which is how I have viewed it for, like, whenever the G3 show up. There are frames that are good or bad against them, and that's great. But unfortunately, whenever the Stalker shows up, if you don't have high armor, high health, you're at a huge disadvantage. Like, there's no, like, powers factor in not at all, and for some frames, powers is, like, all they have. Like, that's the only thing that they are good at. So I think trying to find a Stalker that is difficult while not completely negating your entire toolset would be a benefit. Because as Stalker is right now, it's incredibly frustrating that he is just not, he's not susceptible to, like, anything. It's just not fun. That's my opinion, obviously. I think, like, the Stalker is not hard to kill. Like, I think for earlier players, this is more of a problem. Because, like, whenever the Stalker shows up for me, the Lex, the Fate Core Marilock, insert other gun, this gun, this gun, this gun, like, just fucking blam, murder the shit out of him, and it takes 2 seconds. That is for me, though, as someone who is at an endgame, like, tier, and someone who's, like, in a mission with, like, I don't know, let's say, like, a rank 21 Karak, like, that's not nearly as much of a fair fight. Like, if you're starting out as Excalibur and you don't have, like, efficiency mods and you're not doing this, and you try and slash dash the Stalker, something should happen. It shouldn't just be nothing. Rant about Stalker. That stuff can happen later about how enemies are designed and why shit is fucking not fun sometimes, and why other things are really great. Anyway, let's talk about frame rework. So, the frame rework that was shown off but is not finalized was Saren. So, her 1, it seems like it is... You cast it and then it explodes onto a bunch of enemies, and it seemed like it was doing significantly more damage than normal. And it was giving, like, tons of procs and doing all kinds of stuff like that. That stuff is making it so that her 1 spreads easier is more affecting the rest of her kit in that it will be better that way. So also, move that, you have her 2, her molt, you'll be able to molt and then put your 1 on the molt, and then that will also, like, spread damage to a bunch of these enemies and spread these procs and all these, like, pustules and, like, venomy things. We didn't get any talk about Contagion. I'm pretty sure that they would just remove it if they were smart about it, because Contagion is a shit ability that should feel shitty, and it has no place on Saren, and it's just pretty much completely useless, so I hope it goes away. But the changes to Miasma are very interesting. So, Miasma will tick every second, and extra damage, you get extra damage based on, like, what procs are on your enemies. So using your 1 to spread it to these large crowds, and then hitting 4 will make your damage incredibly way higher, which means that Saren will scale way, way farther, which is a huge benefit for those Saren players. The only thing that is questionable here is how more duration is going to affect Saren, because currently the way it works is that if you do like radically negative duration, you actually get more damage faster, which is super not like fucking negative power better. That doesn't make any sense. It would be nice if you got more damage and it also lasts longer, so you super scale with duration, where like you're adding duration and it is adding like raw damage and it lasts longer. That's what you would want to synergize with like the rest of her kit, not knowing what her 3 may become. I hope it changes. Her 3 is terrible. And we also know what her passive... Alright, sorry about that. Lots of coughs. Anyway, we also know what her passive is going to be, which is going to be a passive increase to status duration, which with the new way she's going to work, I think will be very, very good. They threw out the number 25%, which could go higher or lower depending. Regardless, I think it's a good passive for Saren in the new way she will work based on what they showed. So that's pretty much all for the Saren rework. And now we have the Rhino straight up buffs. Like, not even fucking around, straight up buffs to Rhino in, like, a hard way. Okay, so, the way that Atlas works right now with his 1 is very, very strong and good. Basically, they're taking that and they're going to put it on Rhino's 1, and they were hinting at it also scaling with the melee mods, which I think is going to be very, very, very strong and awesome. And will make Rhino's 1 actually usable and very good, even in like the higher level, because it's also combined with that knockdown. That, just by itself, is a great thing for Rhino. Just by itself. On top of that, his 2, also known as his most useful ability, will receive scaling akin to Snow Globe. So you would put it on, it will be invincible for a while and absorb damage and get more health from that. And then will be on, and you will just go. It will just act like Snow Globe essentially. Be invincible for a while, receive damage, scale up, and go. So, okay, here's the thing about that. For an ability like Snow Globe, it's a large thing, and you have to like know when an enemy is going to shoot at you, and you want to keep an ability like that up all the time. With an ability that is on you, if you know you're about to take a lot of damage, as Rhino, you could hit your 2 as that damage is incoming, and absorb it all and get a really large shield. That makes Rhino way more interesting to play, and I think very specifically means that his Augment Iron Shrapnel becomes way, way better. Because if you know you're about to take enough damage to break your Iron Skin, you'd be able to Shrapnel and put it back on to absorb new incoming damage like very, very quickly. And I think that overall will make Rhino actually like scalable to endgame and actually a real ass tank, which is not a thing that like had been considered before. And this is actually, in the way that it functions, it is a halfway point between Rhino's old indefinitely scalable Iron Skin and his new low scaling Iron Skin. And that is like kind of the best place for it to be. Because his old 1, for those of you that don't know, he used to be completely invincible while his Iron Skin was active and it just had a duration. Very quickly that became apparent that that was fucking busted and overpowered because he could just walk into anything. I believe that was before we even had fleeting expertise, so you can see how that shit could get crazy. And that stuff is what it is. This will make Rhino scale way, way farther, and I will probably actually play him at endgame stuff if his 1 is as good as I think it will be, combined with the crowd control with his 4. And speaking of his 4, enemies that you launch into the air will take more damage from his 1, and based on how much more damage that is, it means that Rhino's scaling could get kind of out of control and really awesome. And then on top of that, the passive that Rhino is going to have is that he's going to have Heavy Impact, which is a mod that whenever you are high up in the air and you drop down, you get like a big shockwave. He's going to have that automatically, like just pre-installed. He'll just have that always. And this is actually, in large rooms, it's actually a good crowd control option for Rhino because it's a knockdown. So this is just going to make Rhino more interesting to play, and I think actually sets the skill bar way higher for Rhino. So that stuff's very interesting. I think that maybe Rhino's rework being as soon as it is may delay the Warframe video, like the re-evaluation of all of them, because Rhino is a very high-use Warframe. So if they're making changes to him, that stuff is very important and needs to be in that video. So it might be delayed, or there might be a separate video just for Rhino, depending on how things go. Okay. So now the big controversial thing, Damage 3.0. It's confirmed that this is happening. We have no date for it. It's probably going to be next year sometime, if I had to take any kind of a guess. The basis is that whenever you are leveling up a weapon, that is what increases its stats. So it's trying to remove mods that are absolutely required, like Hornet Strike and Serration, which gives you more build variety, more mod slots, more reasons to use other things. And I think on the whole, it is trying to remove mods that you put in your gun because no shit. Like, because, yeah, of course. Mods like, well, obviously Serration, but like the multi-shot mods, elementals, like all that stuff, like that stuff needs to be a choice as opposed to, yeah, of course, and if you're not doing this, then fuck you. It's the same type of thing that you get with your aura slot, I would say. Like, if you have Energy Siphon, there's only like a one case scenario where you're not bringing Energy Siphon, and that's whenever enemies are leveled way too high and armor scaling kicks in a way that is not fun. And then you all use Corrosive Projection to mitigate that. There are a lot of like things where you obviously choose this or you're making a bad decision, and I think they just want to reduce that stuff. I am in favor of this change because I think it will be more interesting overall, and this will absolutely change up the meta of the game and what guns are usable, what guns are bad, what guns are good. Hopefully no guns will be bad, that would be the ideal. But overall, I'll probably be very happy with this when it comes out, provided it's done correctly and people are compensated for their incredibly high rank mods. Having a max duration of Hornet Strike takes a while, and people should be compensated for doing all of that work or receive whatever the equivalent is, although there should be no equivalent. Last speculative thing, they talked about what an Umbra is, and they said it's like, basically it said it's like a reverse prime, which is really interesting, and I feel like we will know more about that whenever we get the quest in Update 18 that is going to give us a broader perspective on like what is actually happening in the story of Warframe, and will be very interesting to like figure out. They also said that the like Umbras aren't going to be like some insane ordeal to get, which I assume that is important to a lot of people. Also that it will be this year, so we will get Umbras within the year, and it's probably going to be either a huge shit show or a amazing thing, depending on exactly what they do. It's very one way or the other. If it's like near impossible for most people to get, that's gonna be a real bad thing, and nobody's gonna like that. But basically, that's Devstream 61 and kind of the wrap up of the New York City Comic Con stuff. I'm sorry this video is coming out late. I'm feeling a little sick, and OBS didn't want to cooperate, and it has just been a day and a half. But, and I haven't said this in a while, thank you guys for watching and subscribing and commenting and liking and doing all of that stuff. The amount of it feels like, and this could actually be it, like, it feels like a month ago I was like just awestruck looking at 1,000, 4 digits, four digits. That's a lot of people. That's more people than like will fit in like my fucking entire area where I like the whole, like, you count the yard, like that's more people than will probably fit there. Like, maybe you could squeeze it in, but like that's a lot of people, and I really appreciate all of your comments and just everything. And it's really insane that was like a month ago. It was what it seems like, and now it's at like almost 1,800 people, and that number goes up like every single day, which is insane to me. And I like, because the YouTube thing, I guess, is like the dream for me, is to do content that people want to watch and then make that how I paid the bills. That's the dream, and sharing and commenting and just watching is helping to make that an actual thing that could actually happen. And I really appreciate everybody doing that. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.